Okay, so somebody asked a question about this problem. It was more like a detail of the solution, and it was hard to know exactly what the question was about. But I thought, let me just solve the whole thing and how I approach this. So first thing to know is that we need to we're going to have to eventually get rid of the denominator. So the common denominator that we need to use, since are these two factors here, right? They have nothing in common, so we're going to have to use this factor times this factor. So we're going to have to use eventually that these two factors are not don't have nothing in common and multiply them, and that would be our common denominator. Okay, the other thing to notice first is that this expression or equation is not defined uh, if these denominators are 0. So this cannot be 0, which means that 5x cannot be negative 10, which x cannot be negative 2, right? So negative 10 divided by 5. The other one also tells me that x plus 2 should not be 0. So the same thing, x cannot be negative 2. So this is something that we have to be careful at the end. These are forbidden values because these denominators cannot be 0 for this to make sense. So okay, so let's take that account. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this guy over here and put it equal to negative 4/5. So I'm just doing that to have the x's on one side, terms on the other. Now I need to combine these two, the first two terms, and like I said, my common denominator is going to be, let me do that on the side over here again. The common denominator is going to be 5x plus 10 times x plus 2, right? It's the lowest common denominator from 1. So we just have nothing in common, so do it. So if you multiply those two terms, I'm going to multiply those two terms, everything on the left and everything on the right by this, okay? This multiplied here and this multiplied over here. If I multiply this first term by that, this term cancels, the 5x plus 10, so I really only have the term x plus 2 times that 4, right? And 5x plus 10 cancels with that denominator. And now over here, what's going to cancel is the other term. The x plus 2 cancels, and I have the 5x plus 10 multiplying the 4. Correct? So the denominator disappeared because I'm multiplying by this. I didn't write it down, but this is multiplied here. Multiply here. Right, so if I multiply here, you distribute here, this term cancels and this survives. And multiply here, one term cancels, this other term survives, and that's what we look at. Side, I have to do it. So on the right side, nothing canceled, and I have the negative 4/5 times this product, which I can, now I'm going to have to distribute. So it's going to become 5x squared. It's going to be plus 10x. I'm going to have another 10x and plus 20, right? I know I'm doing this very fast, but you can it's just the algebra part. I think what's confusing might be using the denominators, but then just multiply those two terms and you get this. Okay, now I'm going to distribute what I need to distribute. So I have here I really have 4x plus 8 minus 20x. Sorry, I'm putting the negative, right? This negative distributes to that one and to this one, right? So that's going to be also negative 40, correct? On this side I have a negative 4 times, I'm going to multiply, distribute, so I'm going to have a negative 4 times a 5, so negative 20x squared. I'm going to have a negative, these become about 20x, correct? So times a negative 4 gives you negative 80x. And negative 4 times that becomes a negative 80. All this still divided by 5, right? So I have everything divided by 5. So I multiply by 4, everybody's still divided by 5. So I have a 5 here if you want, a 5 here if you want, and a 5 here. Correct? So now I can still do this. I probably could have done the 5 divided by 5 as I went along, but I did this, so it's not a big deal. Let's do it now. On this side, I can combine some terms. I get 4x minus 20x, I get a negative 16x. And negative 40 plus 8, I get a negative 32. On this side, I get negative 20 divided by 5. I think that's a negative 4x squared. On this side, I get negative 80 divided by 5, that's a negative 16. And 80 divided by 5 is a 16. Okay, so now let's put the numbers together. The 16x's cancel, right? Because I'm going to add the 16x to move it over here, so they cancel. So if I move the 4x squared over here, I have a positive 4x squared on this side. And I have a next 16. I'm going to add a 32. So 32 minus 16 is a 16. So I have x squared equals to 4. So x really could be plus and minus the root of 4, which is plus and minus 2. Now, remember up here we said that x could not be negative 2. We said that at the beginning. So that's why the only solution now is x equals to 2. Okay, so I probably did some steps too fast. But again, I think the most confusing part for this part is to deal with these denominators. In this case, you need to multiply both sides by this denominator. Be careful that you have some restrictions. Every time you have a x is in the denominator, there's some forbidden values for this equation to make sense. So you do them on the side to remember that's happening. So if your solutions turn out to be one of these forbidden values, in this case only one, you have to discard that solution. And if your solution doesn't include these, then it's no problem, right? It's still not defined there, but that'll be a problem. Okay, so keep asking questions. I'll post videos if you ask them and start a discussion. Okay.